What's up everybody, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the 2023 Hyundai IONIQ 6 SE. This one's finished off in curated silver. MSRP is $46,800. The 2023 Hyundai IONIQ 6 is a fully electric car featuring a 77.4 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack. This one's rear-wheel drive with 225 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. Overall range is about 361 miles. If you do the 120 volt charging, 80% battery charge, you can do about 7 hours. However, up to the rapid charge at 350 kilowatts, you're looking at 18 minutes. The overall length is 191.1 inches with wheelbase at 116.1. Height is 58.9 inches with width at 74 inches. Ground clearance is also about 5.6 inches, and then curb weight is 4,300 pounds. Moving on to the styling now with the Hyundai IONIQ 6. This certainly is a pretty quirky looking sedan. As you can see, we have a nice set of LED headlights. You can see all the daytime running lights as well as a blacked out housing. We have a gloss black trim piece in the front portion with all of your parking sensors. Very flush design for the Hyundai badge. You can see active grille shutters down below when cooling is needed. You can also see a small vent on the left side. Has a very bubbly appearance with rounded lines, kind of a flat front end as well. Then you can see those really sharp lines in the front bumper cutting into that hood, fading towards that windshield. So it has a pretty sleek forwards profile, as you can tell. And then as you make our way to the side, you can see that bubble design to the overall roof line. We get a set of 18-inch wheels with a very aerodynamic design for the two-tone color. Then you can see a sharp body line surrounding the wheel arch. You get a sharp body line in the lower portion of the doors, door handles that are going to automatically pop out. Then you also get body color on the mirrors with a cool integrated design for that LED turn signal. All black trim surrounding the windows, and you can see how that roofline really cuts down into the back, has a super unique looking side profile. As we make our way in back, you can see how this side window dips down very low. Get a gloss black shark fin antenna that's actually transparent, which is kind of unique to see. Then the rear glass fades into this rear mounted spoiler. There's a very flat portion up above with an extra brake light. You can see all these square shaped designs to it, Hyundai badge below that, and then another design for a secondary spoiler. You can see how the lip cuts forwards. We have a trunk release button, rear view backup camera, IONIQ 6 is written out, and then a really cool design for all the squares within the rest of this taillight and brake light. So really unique layered design for the rear end, very, very different. Gloss black rear diffuser with more taillights in it. You can see some cool sharp angles, all of your parking sensors as well. And it comes together to finish off the design very well. It certainly matches itself, but definitely has a unique style. Moving on to the key fob, you get the Hyundai logo on it with all of your typical buttons. If I go ahead and lock the car, you can see how the door handles are going to operate. It does feature the proximity key, so when you get close to it, it'll unlock. You can also just tap the center portion, door handles will pop out, and we can take a look at this interior. You're going to see all black surrounding everything. And then if we take a look at the door panel finished off in the same black color, we have this plastic material with some sort of texture to it. You also have an aluminum color for the release handle, some more texture material down here for your speaker grill, and then some rubber padding for the armrest, and the whole thing is actually a grab handle. We have some storage down below, and then IONIQ 6 written out on the door sill, power controls for the driver's seat, and then this black fabric material for the seating surface. See how it makes its way up to the headrest, got a little bit of contrast stitching, and then a pretty unique two-spoke design for this leather-wrapped steering wheel. You can see a flat bottom design, and then these four little dots will actually light up at night. And then now inside the IONIQ 6, keep my foot on the brake, we can go ahead and fire it up. The two 12.3-inch screens will turn on, and you can see the LCD screen for the gauge cluster. You can see the miles per hour on the left side, range on the right, got a few vitals on the top and bottom. And if you toggle this pages icon right here, you can scroll through a few things on the top. You can also see some safety information and then trip information as well. Now for drive mode, you have this button right here. If you just press it once, you can go into the normal mode, and then you also have a sport mode, which is a pretty cool design for everything. Now you're also going to see those four dots change as you go into different drive modes, a different color. That is a nice little touch. Now on the left side, we have cruise control settings, steering intervention, lane keeping, and distance pacing. And then on the right side, you have a few Bluetooth and audio controls. We have the shift pedals on the right and the left side, which are all about regenerative braking. You can adjust that. Then we have the stock on the right side down here for windshield wipers, and then your drive select is on the far bottom. Over on the left, we have headlight controls as well. And then to the left side of all of that, you can see interior dimming, the charge port, park and brake, along with these side view mirrors. You have one of your air vents, some more plastic material going across the dash. You have this rubber material as well. Your air vents are all integrated into this dash. And then the center infotainment is what you would expect on any typical Hyundai. You have all sorts of different information that pops up. You have EV right now, you can click on, see a few things like that. And you also have climate controls that will pop up on the screen, where you're able to view where everything's going, all the different zones and everything. Then you also have the seat warmers, adjustments like that. Navigation, of course, a few more items, and then back to the home screen. Now if I go ahead and put us into reverse, you got a pretty nice backup camera with all of your parking sensors. Then we can change this view just a little bit for a top down. And just pressing the P button, we're back into park. Below all that, we have a bunch of climate controls for physical buttons. I actually do like how they're touchscreen, so really easy to use actually. They look nice. And then when you tap the climate, it pops up back to that screen. You have a few more controls down here, and then all sorts of different shortcuts. You can see your map and navigation, tuning, parking sensors. So nice to have a lot of those shortcuts. We have some storage down below with a USB, cup holders in the center. Your window controls are located right here. You also have the auto hold, and then we get a huge storage cubby all down below. You have your armrest. You can lift this open, a little bit more storage, and then 2 USB-C ports down below that, and then just some rubber material for the armrest, and a pretty good sized glove box. One last look at the interior. Looks like a modern Hyundai, as you would expect. Very simple in here, certainly a lot of plastic covering everything. And then just a basic black headliner with your dome lights up above that. Then you also have just a nice visor with a mirror. Moving on to the rear seat space, grabbing the door handle, opening it up. You have a bench seat back here that can accommodate 3 people, all the same fabric material, and then all the same plastic along the door panel. You see how this slopes downwards, you get just a little bit of padding. Window control is on the door, and then 2 things of storage. You can also see how in the center, if I pull this down, you have a nice armrest along with 2 cup holders. There are climate vents back here with 2 USB ports, and then you're going to see storage on the back side of these seats. So sitting now in the back seat of the IONIQ 6 at 5'11", I do have quite a lot of rear seat room. Now headroom isn't too bad. I have maybe a ½ inch above my head right there. And then legroom and knee room, there's a lot. I have the driver's seat at my height, and as you can see, I have plenty of knee room and foot room. I will say the seat feels a little weird compared to the floor. I just feel like my knees are kind of high up in the air. There's definitely a lot of space. So I feel like the seat maybe is just a little bit low on the floor. Armrests are pretty good, huge windows, good visibility. Center armrest and cup holders all work very nicely as well. And then the floor itself, there's no bump or anything like in certain cars. So you do have a lot of foot room in general. Recline is nice on the seats as well. When you put your head back, your head might hit the ceiling a little bit. But overall, not too bad. It's pretty comfortable in here. I'd just say with longer legs, your legs might feel a little too high for the lower seats. Moving on to the trunk storage space, if you just tap the button once, we do have a power operated trunk lid. You can see how it opens up. Very interesting design, of course, with the shape of the car. But as you can see, it's pretty nice and squared off in here. We have a very flat load floor, and if you lift this up, we have a charger in here and just a little bit extra storage. There's also these manual pulls you can do to lower down these seats. And with them down, you can see just how much more storage space you're going to get in the back. It's not the biggest trunk given the shape and size of the car. However, it still is pretty practical, especially with all that legroom up here. You really can fit quite a lot in the car. You have a pretty decent size opening into the trunk for larger items as well. So fundamentally, this seems like a pretty practical mid-size sedan. All right, guys, so we are setting off now in the IONIQ 6. So putting it into sport mode, it's peppy enough. It's not like a crazy fast electric car or anything like that. However, in sport mode especially, I mean, it'll get you 50, 60, whatever you need to do. So adequate power plant for sure for being kind of more of the base model car. And then with the drive modes, basically it adjusts how well the throttle works. So right now in eco mode, it's a lot more conservative, a little bit slower feeling. So it's a nice step up for each of the 3 drive modes. Now, as always with Hyundai, the radar cruise control, along with the lane keeping and everything, it works really, really well. Of course, when you're on a nice road with the lines, it works perfectly, but it's pretty comfortable for a car. You know, the seats are well padded. It's comfortable and quiet to be in this car. You don't really feel any like road bumps or anything like that. You don't really hear any wind noise or road noise or anything like that as well. And then you have pretty good visibility throughout the front, and over your right shoulder, pretty good view there as well. Now, like any electric car, kind of on the heavier side, which does mean when you're going a little bit quicker in turns, it feels pretty planted. You know, there's not really much body sway or anything like that, and the steering actually is nice and direct. It feels heavy and very well weighted. So not a bad car to cruise around in. If you're gonna be doing highway driving or even twisty road driving, it seems like a very confident car to drive. You also have a lot of room. This car feels very open on the interior. At 5'11", I have even more adjustments that I have now, so I can really make this go crazy as far as how many moves I can move the seat around and everything like that. But steering wheel feels really nice in your hands. Great armrest as well, so you just fit comfortably. Good legroom, great space and storage solutions. So it's an easy car to drive, and Hyundai's technology is super familiar. It's not hard to get used to. It all looks very clean and just easy to use while you're driving. So it's not a distracting system, just the way everything is laid out. So I like that about this car. Another thing, only drawback I would say, is there's a lot of plastic, like the whole dashboard, the whole doors and everything. The fabric isn't really anything high end. So there is a lot of just generic, I'd say, economy car materials in this car, which is kind of my one complaint with it. You know, for 46 grand, the Toyota Crown is the same price and it feels like a baby Lexus. So I wouldn't mind nicer materials on the inside. Aside from that, the button quality and everything like that feels nice to touch. Nothing feels cheap. As far as the parts that you're always touching, as we have a shed driving down the road, that is a very interesting sight. But anyway, that is very, very interesting. Anyway, yeah, interior, that's my only drawback, I would say. But it does feel comfortable, it's easy to drive, the tech works good. And if I can hit this big bump, we can test out the build quality a little bit. I guess I'll just go around him. But hitting a big bump feels really solid too. So I like how the build quality, it feels like a solid car, just wouldn't mind a little bit more spruced up interior, I would say. All right, so my honest thoughts now, my perspective with the IONIQ 6. I think if you're looking for just a nice, normal, comfortable EV, this is not a bad way to go. 46 grand, pretty much smack dab in the middle of an average price of a new car in today's market. So obviously not too expensive. My biggest complaint, like I mentioned, just the interior. I wish it was nicer, I would say, for $46,000, given the Toyota Crown, a nice hybrid, which has a much more upscale interior. For $46,000, like plastic and rubber on everything and just basic cloth, I would like to see more, especially when there are used Audis and BMWs that are this size that are luxury cars. So that's my one complaint, and I know this is more the base model. There are higher up trim levels, but that just means you're spending more and more money. So that's my biggest complaint with it. I think overall as a vehicle, it drives nice. Like I said, it feels refined, it feels pretty solid. Hitting the big bumps and everything, the powertrain, it feels nice. Up to 45, like nothing. So it's a car that does drive very well. It's quiet, very insulated. You don't hear anything right now. We're going 40 miles an hour. You hear the noisy truck go by, but you just don't really hear anything. It's comfortable. It's just an easy car to drive. The styling definitely is going to be controversial. Not everyone likes the styling. I think it's a little weird. You know, this and the IONIQ 5 are very bold in their design. I know Hyundai has tried something very different with these two cars. It'll be interesting how they age, how time goes on. Are these going to look out of date in a couple years? Or are they going to age well? I guess we'll have to see. So they're certainly unique on the styling. Not everyone's going to like it. Some people are probably going to love it because it's quirky, it's weird, it's a little different. So that is certainly subjective, personal preference. If you want a car that's a little out there, a little different, you know, this is something to take a look at. And I think, well, yeah, you get an interesting looking exterior and a mediocre interior, you do get a nice car overall. It rides good, visibility is good, and technology is good. The steering intervention, lane keeping, all that stuff works fantastic. Hyundai has always had one of the best cruise control systems, and it's super roomy. You know, it's a spacious mid-sized sedan, and there's just so much room in it. It's just very easy to use and a good place to be for long trips even. I mean, you have so many different controls and good range. You know, there are some EVs that barely get 200 on a charge. You get a lot of range anxiety. This one, having a lot of range, especially for what it is, seems like a very well done EV. I think that is my biggest complaint with EVs, is that range anxiety, having to charge it and everything. This one's not bad. If you use the basic charger, it doesn't take that long compared to others. and given it has the more modern charging system and everything like that, it's going to be very easy at several different charge stations throughout the country. So I think overall Hyundai is doing a good job on their electric cars. I think there's something to look at. Personally on this one, I would want a little bit nicer interior, so I'd probably have to go with a bigger one, the all-wheel drive one, so you get even more power, even nicer interior. That'd probably be a good way to go, but now you're obviously into the $50,000 range. So if you're in the market for an EV, this one is up there on price, overall nice, just a few quirks I would say with it compared to other cars. But there you guys go, that is the newest Hyundai IONIQ 6. Interesting option for sure, something worth taking a look at. If you enjoyed taking a look at the video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned for plenty more content. I'll see you all in the next video.